this was my identity.
Nobody talks about how freaking hard it is to be a dentist. What most people talk about is how this affects the patient. What nobody talks about is how this affects us. Dentistry is ready for this. Now is really the time.
Welcome to Wellness and Dentistry, where today we're going to talk about our thoughts around a live course that we just gave and a workshop and our impressions about what's going on in dentistry from doctors from around the country. I'm joined by my co-host and my dear friend, Dr. Kyle Stanley, who is a dentist, tech entrepreneur, speaker, and researcher. And I am Dr. Martin Mendelson, a disabled dentist, coach, speaker, and author. And my first book, One Move Makes All the Difference, is available for pre-order on my website before the official launch in December, at which time it'll be available wherever books are sold. And together we've helped thousands of dental professionals pursue wellness and dentistry. If you're unfamiliar with us, we invite you to check out our respective links, websites, and course offerings on the Wellness in Dentistry website. So, Kyle, how you doing today? First of all,
I'm doing good. I think I'm still a little bit on a high from this live event that we did.
yeah,
It's you guys, if you've listened to the podcast before, you've heard us talk about Lightside Live. This is our 2-day transformational course that we give, and we usually give it twice a year-ish, something like this. And
yeah,
there was something that was so special about this one,
yeah,
and it's always transformational. We always leave on a high. There was something so special about this one, and I think it was the camaraderie that we
hmm
saw between all of the dentists. And, we had dentists from, if I can remember, but, from Tennessee, from Seattle, from Kansas, from Colorado, from California,
California,
all over the place.
yeah.
And to see that everybody goes through the same stuff.
Yeah, that was we typically hear that, but for some reason this version we jumped in hard real quick, meaning there was just this level of connectedness around certain specific struggles that really quite struck both of us. And the whole class kind of came together and gelled almost instantly. And I looked, I don't know if you noticed this, but it literally was 50-50 men and women.
Mm.
And there was all different age groups. There was, mid 40s, retirees,
Mhm.
people just starting out, mid-career. So it was kind of all over the place. And, our intention to talk about this is to give people exposure to, not just what our course is, but what people are going through out there. So you can make a decision about what it is you want to pursue for your own wellness in dentistry. So, this is not as much of as a commercial as it is a conversation around what we experienced and what we think this stuff can do for people.
Yeah, and there were discussions from people that were associates
Yeah.
that, struggled with autonomy and material choices and uh, getting responsibilities like they were an owner, but not having
Yep.
the autonomy as an owner. There
Yep.
were discussions of people that were partnered with group practices, DSOs,
Yep.
and some things that were positive, some things that were negative,
Yep.
similarly to autonomy and
hmm
management and that kind of
hmm
stuff. And then you, of course, had the single owner private
hmm
practices. You also had people that were partnerships, private
Yep.
practices, and
Yep.
challenges with that. And so it's like, no matter where you are on your journey, if you are a new associate, if you're a career associate, if you're a
hmm
single owner private practice, if you're a single owner with a DSO,
Yep.
if you have a partnership, like so many things, there's so many things that you can learn.
hmm
And I guess what I'm trying to get at is you had all these people, different age groups, different positions in their practice, let's say, as far as like, are they an owner? Are they associate? Is there a DSO? Is there a partnership? But the things that we taught relate to everybody because we're all human.
Yeah. Totally. Totally. Totally.
And so much of what we focus on is getting better at those soft skills and learning how to change your mindset on certain things.
Yeah, and just the communication skills, those soft skills as you called them, to have these conversations because there were conversations people needed to have with associates, with family, with team members, with DSO executives.
Yeah.
It ran the gamut, and so the people on the other side of that conversation were, shall we say, different, but the conversations were the same.
Right, 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 right. Yeah.
You know?
And what we what we always see, and Martin and I include ourselves in this too, a long time ago, is that all these people were great dentists.
Oh
They
yeah.
they cared about their patients. They were passionate about dentistry. They loved their work in what we do, but they struggled with the management, with
Mm-hmm.
staff communication, with
Mm-hmm.
organization of the practice, with
Yep.
work-life balance. And that's everybody, guys. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's everybody because we just learn how to drill holes in people's mouths and we don't learn any of the other stuff. And
Yeah.
that's where everybody suffers.
Yeah. It's funny. You and I were texting earlier today. I did my soft launch of my book release, and somebody hit me up on LinkedIn, and he said, "I saw you speak a while ago, and you really helped me change how I think about things. And because of you, I now have my dream job." And this was a guy who worked for a health. It was a subsidiary of United Healthcare that's now moved on to another company, and so and what I talked about there is what we cover in Lightside Live. So these are so ubiquitous things. I think the other thing that struck me too,
Mm,
everybody there talked about how to handle the balance of either personal or family health issues. And so there was a bunch of people in there that, had gone through various types of health challenges, spouses that had health challenges, team members that had health challenges, and how challenging that became just to kind of get through the day and that how that impacted their relationship with their business practice partners or associates, et cetera. And so we don't talk about this stuff anywhere else. And so,
mm.
it just kills me when I was sending you that text from that guy who worked for a United Healthcare subsidiary. It's like, when are we going to wake up in dentistry and realize what the people who came to Lightside Live realized, which is, we're more complex than just how to prep a crown.
Yeah. What what I saw so much with these doctors is it's funny, like at the beginning of this conversation today, I was talking about how we're all going through the same stuff, right? There's so many
Yeah.
similarities. But then what you also see in these courses too is so at the end of each day, for those that haven't taken the course, we kind of review what was best, what was most helpful for you today, or what really
Yeah.
resonated with you.
Yeah.
And that is so different.
Oh, yeah.
And I think as a speaker, as an educator, this is something that always surprises me is I will go fast through a certain slide or just kind of glaze over it.
Yeah.
And then at the end, someone will say, "Oh my gosh, that little graph that you showed, that was life-changing to me. I
Yeah.
really understood myself. Now I know how to go forward." And that's a funny thing from an education standpoint is like
Mhm.
there is one little thing that can literally change someone's life,
Yeah.
and we don't know what it is.
It's true, and I think that goes to any relationship with anybody. Because if I know you the way I think I do, I think you're talking about there was one individual that pointed out the Dunning-Kruger effect that you talked
Correct.
about,
Hmm.
and you go into real detail in that in your online course, the Lightside
Hmm.
Academy, but we just referenced it
Yeah.
in the course. In fact, do I remember this right? Like you weren't even planning on talking about it, and you went over and you pulled it up, I
I
think.
wasn't, yeah, because I
Yeah,
think someone brought something up in one of our discussions, and I think
yeah,
I interrupted you and said, "Hey,
yeah,
Martin,
yeah,
can I
yeah,
just share
yeah, yeah.
Dunning-Kruger effect?"
Yeah, which is why we have so much fun because like we have a plan of what we're gonna do, but it's like the end game is more important than how we get there. But anyway, but I thought that was really fascinating and the attendees wanted to stay in touch and so we all kind of exchanged emails and there was already an email thread from that same person talking about how much the Dunning-Kruger effect really made him think and it's impacted him and what he's done since then and how he's applying it and so forth. So you're right because the research shows what is it? that people only remember about 20% of what they hear,
Yeah.
but they don't tell you what 20%. So,
Yeah.
so it's a fascinating thing.
Yeah. Were there any surprises for you in this course, like as opposed to other ones that we've done?
I would say just in general, something you and I talked about afterwards, which just is like this group was really, really engaged and some other groups weren't as engaged. And
Hmm.
why is that? I mean, no one really knows.
Hmm.
I will say though, my observation of this group was that I think they were listening to each other in a broader context. Because I remember a couple times there were several individuals that got emotional and said words to the effect of, what you just said triggered me to think about this.
Hmm.
So they were connecting dots, as my dear friend Kimberly Locke would say, connecting dots between somebody else's journey
Hmm.
and how that related to their journey that was different but similar. So it almost feels as if maybe this group came with a more open aperture than other groups, even though the kind of people who show up for our course are pretty open. We're talking
Yeah.
a relative scale here. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was something I observed. What about you?
Well, I think that shows the importance of live events.
Yeah, true.
You know, you and I do a lot of stuff remote.
Hmm.
I mean, we do this remote, we do this
Yeah,
podcast remote,
yeah.
we do webinars remote, we
Hmm.
do panel discussions remote, but we also go to a lot of live events because we're
Yeah,
paid to speak in different
yeah.
areas. And there's still something that you cannot get from a remote event
No,
that you can get from a live event. And I think it's things like that.
yeah,
I think it's things like, let's say, even if you're on a Zoom and someone's sharing, you can't feel the emotion as much as you can when they're 3 seats down from you or 10 seats down from you.
yeah.
And so I
Because
think
I
that
think,
just it makes me think of how important the human connection is,
yeah,
especially in dentistry. I
yeah,
think it's happening even more now because of more introduction of AI. You know,
yeah.
everybody knows I'm a big fan of AI, having started Pearl, a dental AI
Hmm.
company. But I think that it makes it so much more important now when something is real, when something
Hmm.
is human. It's like it brings up the value more.
I would agree with that. In fact, it's kind of ironic because 2 weeks in a row we had Lightside Live, and then I did a workshop in a practice.
That's right.
And they actually said the same thing. They said, this was so valuable to have you in our house, was I think the
Mm.
words they used. And so you can't replace that humanistic interaction and connection that's created on site because let's call it what it is. When you're remote, if you're listening virtually, etc., people are distracted. They're looking at their phones and this is not a criticism, it's a
No, it's real,
reality.
real life. Yeah.
You know, you're looking at your email that's on the same screen. You're
Hmm.
looking at your phone. You're doing whatever, or the dog throws up or something.
Yeah.
You know, there's just distractions that are there that don't exist when you're physically away from house and practice and the usual stressors of life.
Yeah, I was just pulling up a screenshot that one of our participants posted on, I think it was my Facebook or something.
Hmm.
And she said, I was scheduled to be vacationing the first week of August, and I had a trip planned for months. Then I changed everything to attend the Lightside Live course. That was the best decision ever. Good move, right? I'm working to practice and obtain all the tools and skills you and Martin taught to us. Thank you for all you do. You have been an inspiration to me and for wellness. I can't wait for August 2026.
Mm. So I think one thing I'd like to point out too is that um, I just lost my train of thought completely. I was going to talk about we were talking about in-person events. We were talking about the react. Oh, that it almost doesn't matter. I know this is going to sound really strange. It almost doesn't matter like what you do and where you go, but just go and do something somewhere. And what I
Mm,
mean by that is, you can sit here and you can listen to us till you're blue in the face and be like, yeah, that's a good idea. But until you actually do something about it, it's never going to be valuable to you. And so I think we talked about one of our more recent podcasts. I spent 3 nights and 4 days on a river in Utah without an ounce of cell signal, very much out of my comfort zone. And I feel like a different person because of it. And
Hmm.
I hear Zach, the leader, the guide, every day now behind me,
Hmm.
as he was when we were doing this hike in like 100-degree heat. You got this, buddy. The only thing stopping you is the thoughts between your ears. And so I chuckled. I looked back at him and I said, "Shut up." That's what I say. So you just got to get off your fanny and just do it. Is I guess what I'm thinking. Whether it's our course, whether it's something you've been interested in, but just getting out of the house and doing something is incredibly valuable. Sorry for
Well,
being on my soapbox, but
no, I had this experience a few weeks ago when and I can't remember if I talked about it on the podcast before, but I drove down to AAED, American
oh
Academy
yeah,
of
yeah.
Dentistry, which is a very high level event, right?
Mhm.
The the people in the audience are the people that teach everybody around the world. I mean,
Yeah,
it was like
yeah.
everybody that's in the audience is a researcher, university professor, speaker,
Yep.
has just incredible work. I mean, you walk around, it's like you know everybody.
Hmm.
And I was just reminded that I almost didn't go because it was actually the day before Lightside Live.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I didn't go to that meeting. I just went to one day. And one of my friends, Marcus Blatz, was the host. So he was like, no, just come down. And so I just came down for a few hours. And I tell you, I got so much out of those few hours.
Oh yeah.
Connecting with colleagues, meeting people that I only knew on Instagram,
Yeah.
that either they knew me or I knew them, and like, oh, so great to meet you,
Mhm.
There were business opportunities that came out of it, collaboration. And I left feeling so energized
Mhm.
and so positive and bullish about our
Mhm.
profession. And I also left feeling like there are so many great people in our profession.
Yeah. It makes me think of something that Frank Spear says all the time. And, I wish him nothing but the best in health because he's really fighting right now. He's looking for a donor, if you're A positive, looking for a liver donor because he's in liver failure. So
Yeah.
if you're that person and you're willing, I'm not, unfortunately, I'm a O positive,
Mm,
to just DM me and we'll get you connected to his family. But my point is, he always talks about CE and he makes a comment around some of the best friends he has in life are people he met at CE courses.
mm,
And think about why. Because you're there with like-minded people and friendships develop based upon like interests, right? And so you and I very much talk about the fact that, we're more than just a dentist, that it's what we
yeah.
do, not who we are. But that aside, there's this connection that we make. Like you and Marcus, I know you two are really, really good friends, but you
Yeah.
have also the surfing connection, right?
Right.
So there's other likes and other interests that you connect on, um, outside of bond strings,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
right? And so the connections we make with these like-minded people are really incredible. When I went on my river rafting trip, there wasn't one dentist there, but the people that were there were very like-minded relative to personal growth and getting outdoors and disconnecting and not wanting to be tethered to their phone. And so now I have this whole new group of friends that share common interests. So I think it's something that we overlook or don't realize maybe.
I'm glad you said that because
Yeah.
it reminds me of the people that come to our course. One of the great things is that if you come to our course, if you sign up for a course where we're talking about mental health, we're talking
Yeah.
about non-clinical skills, we're talking about
Hmm.
soft skills, personal growth, you're going to be someone that is either already on their personal growth journey or
Hmm.
they're willing to be on a personal growth
Yeah,
journey.
totally.
And what I've realized is that my friends who I'm very close with now in my early 40s are the people that have lower egos,
Hmm.
are on their personal growth journey,
Yeah.
know what they're deficient in, have better self-awareness, and it's made my relationship so much better.
Yeah.
And it's nice to go through this, at least in my stage in life.
Hmm.
Most of my good friends are married, do have kids, are involved in business
Yeah.
and are involved with personal growth.
Yeah.
And so to go through that stage in my life with this
Hmm.
support system
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah.
And just the other day we had in my little beach town where I live, one of my really good friends, he's a very successful businessman and also very into personal growth development. And he has, well, we both, I introduced him to a plastic surgeon. They became friends. And now one of those plastic surgeons, he's in his, um, in his 50s, but really is on a personal growth journey and doesn't have a lot of
Hmm.
friends that are.
Hmm.
And so we kind of said, let's rally around him and let's be there for him because he really needs us. And
Hmm.
we can almost be like, Sherpa mentors. We've
Yeah.
been through this before.
Yeah.
And just meeting up for a day by the beach was really helpful for him and for us. It was really, really nice.
Absolutely.
So it's like
Absolutely.
when you find people that are already on a similar journey than you're on, you don't
Yeah.
feel alone.
Well, and yes, and let's talk brass tacks here because the coach in me can't help myself. Um, Everybody who's happens to be listening that's also in dentistry, I know we have some non-dental folk that listen, actually, some friends of mine, but
Yeah, for some friends of
anybody in
mine too.
dentistry, oh, well, I'm really busy. You know what? You're absolutely right. So are Kyle and I in different ways. And it's also true that if you don't plan it, it's never going to happen.
Hmm.
And so we talked in previous podcasts about the importance of planning your year from a production standpoint. But what's equally important is what you're doing in plan of your year or as part of your year that isn't production. And what are you going to do? And, are you taking time for your family, for your friends, for your CE that's required, for CE or growth journeys that are not required? And
Hmm.
so you know, I'm saying this with love, folks. It ain't going to happen unless you plan it. And you may sit there and go, well, like take my rafting trip, for example. It wasn't inexpensive and I had to fly there and I had to stay, a couple nights on either side. So I decided to use points to reduce the financial burden. But I made it happen. Why? Because it was important to me.
Yeah,
So
because didn't you set that in February or
I
something?
did. I booked it in February. It was
And it
like
wasn't until July?
correct. And
Yeah.
Zach Hazlitt, the leader. By the way, if you don't, if you're listening to this and you're on Instagram, you should follow him on Instagram. It's his handles the outdoor therapist. He's got amazing content. And he told me he was like, I think you were the second person to sign up. I was like, because
Mm.
I was serious.
Yeah.
So
And
you
and
got to
that's
plan
what
it.
that's what happened with this, meeting with our plastic surgery friend was
Hmm.
my friend called me up and said, "Hey, our friend is coming to town." And it was like 10 days before,
Hmm.
we're gonna meet on this Monday morning. Are you available? And I was, so I scheduled it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Martin and I a lot of times talk about scheduling in your practice, but let's also
Hmm.
talk about scheduling for your relationships. So
Totally.
that could be scheduling date nights with your honey or,
Yeah.
scheduling
Yeah.
time to take your kids somewhere or
Totally. That's
maybe you
it's.
don't have anybody and it's just you and your dog. I mean, honestly,
Mhm.
put it on the schedule. If you look at my schedule, my gym sessions are on there. My jujitsu sessions are on there. Of course, all of my meetings and lectures and work
Yeah.
and, advising and all of that stuff is on there too. But I have relationships scheduled on there.
Yeah.
And
100%.
if it's not on there, it's not on your calendar. I don't think it's important.
Well, I've talked about this before. I make scheduled Zoom sessions with friends that are really important to me.
Mhm.
And, actually tonight I talk about my friend Debbie all the time because we go to dinner and then before we leave, we pull out our phones. Tonight is this month's dinner.
Yep. And
So
before you guys are done, like
yeah,
when you're paying the check or
yeah,
whatever, saying goodbye, you say, okay, when are we meeting next, right?
absolutely. And I got to give her credit because half the time she'll do it like in the middle of a conversation. She's like, okay, and I'm like, wait, what? Okay. And then I pull my phone out. But uh, it's well, actually, I also go through this in my online course, Leadership Mastery, in lesson number 2. There's a whole time and task audit that includes, personal versus professional time, so you can actually figure out how you're spending your time today and see if you're time broke or in time surplus, and where you can fit things in or what you can do for your life. For example, if you feel like you're spending too much time in meal prep, well, maybe a meal service would work for you a couple nights a week to free up some time to
Hmm.
spend more time with your family or to go to the gym or whatever it is. But it's like anything else. If you don't plan it, it's not going to happen. And then you turn around and you say, "Oh, where did the year go?" Or gosh
Hmm.
forbid, something terrible happens.
Right.
And then you're sitting there in unfortunate regret saying, "I really wish I spent more time with my family or my friends, or I really
Yeah.
wish I spent more time outside of the office." Because it's a joke, but it's not that nobody
Yeah.
on their deathbed says, "I wish I worked more." Like nobody
Right.
ever says that,
Yeah.
ever. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
So with this course, what final thoughts do you have?
just do it. No, what I would say is, and I'm not necessarily talking about our course. I
Yeah.
think my just do it comment has to do with if you're sitting here listening to this and you're looking for something and you feel like you're kind of afloat or adrift, then take the time to take a step back and plan things out a little differently. Plan things out in your practice in concert and in parallel with planning out your personal life, because they're both really important, and one shouldn't in the totality of the arc of our lives shouldn't take more precedent over the other. They're both important, I think.
Hmm. Yeah. My thoughts with this is just I wish I had learned this stuff earlier.
Yeah.
You know,
Amen. I'm older than
be
you are.
being a somewhat, I would say, of an expert in this. I mean, I'm never done learning, but you and I, we teach this a lot. We
Mhm.
know this stuff. Having had this earlier in my career in my life would have really helped me.
Yeah.
And so it's so rewarding to see these doctors have this Morpheus red pill, blue pill decision
Yeah.
and being like, okay, now I'm going to see the other side of
Yep.
what I call the light side of dentistry, right? Seeing the light side of dentistry and being like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know that was there.
Yep.
It just makes me want to get our message out even more.
I would agree.
And I think it's because we see how much this helps people. We get the DMs from people that listen to this. Just just I think it was this morning. This has been a long day, but I think this morning I got a message from a dentist in Malaysia. And she
Mm.
said, I'm really interested in the mental health stuff that you have. What resources do you have? And
Yeah.
I was telling her I have mini courses, I have my signature course, that's Academy. Um, and she said, it's money's really tight right now, and hey, do you have anything else? And I said, well, we have wellness and dentistry,
Yeah.
and there's up to now we've recorded 70 different episodes, and there's
Yep.
a ton of value. And she was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I'm going to start listening to them now.
Yeah.
And so it just makes me happy that these resources are there because they weren't
Absolutely.
when I was in a very dark place in 2018.
Yeah. I used to say it's bizarre, and I mean this with love because it just surprised me. I used to think it was bizarre that people said that our course was one of the best courses they've ever taken in their career. And it happens every single time now.
It does.
And it's not like we're prodding people to say it. It just is what people feel. And I'm convinced it's simply because we're just not talking about this stuff enough. And, Kyle and I, when we're not recording, talk amongst each other all the time that maybe we're a little ahead of our time. I don't know. But what I do know is that I'm in a much better place having gone on my personal journey of personal and mental wellness. I know you are as well. And the people that we serve are starting to feel that way as well. So there's something here, and we just need to keep traversing down the river.
Yeah, what you're saying makes me think of, I don't know anybody personally, maybe there is, but I don't know anybody personally that's gone on a personal growth journey and come out in a worse place.
Yeah, true.
You know?
Yeah,
It's funny. I mean, even just if you just have self-awareness from your personal growth journey, that is
yeah,
such a huge step,
yeah,
huge step.
100%. Well, the
So
first step is acknowledging you have a problem, right? So,
that's right. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, we hope you guys listen to this. We do have another Lightside Live on the books. We're not going to tell
Yes.
you when. I'll just tell you that it's kind of spring of 2026.
Yep.
The one that we do have, there will be more information coming out about that, how you can join. We'd, of course, love to see you there if you, I'll say, if you qualify. And you'll know what that means maybe when you listen to an upcoming podcast. And we appreciate you listening today. We hope this is helpful. And if you thought this was great, we'd love if you could send it to a colleague. That would really
Yeah.
help us.
And I think I wanted to add, because we haven't said it yet, that if you're seriously interested in joining us for one of the in-person courses, go to wellnessanddentistry.com, click on the links to find the Lightside Live site, and you can add yourself to a wait list. And
That's
then
right.
once the date's released, we will be letting everybody know. I think there's about almost 40 people on the wait list now to
Yeah.
let everybody know who, what, when, where, why, relative to our next event in the spring.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll see you guys in the next episode. See you later.
Take care.